Well, hello everyone. This is Cindy Clow, and I'm here on Anything But Routine with Bailey Mutschler. Did I say that
You
right,
got
Bailey?
it.
That's a hard name. And Bailey is the head coach of the Hudson High School Raiders dance team, and this will be her fifth season in the role as head coach. She's a Radar alumni herself. Bailey began her coaching journey with the program's JV team before stepping into the head coach position. I want to hear about how that transition went because that's a tough one. The Raiders have continued to grow in success with 5 state championships over the last 4 seasons and 7 total. That's a lot of pressure. We can talk about that too.
Yeah.
So Bailey attended the University of St. Thomas, where she was a member of the school's competitive dance team club and served on the executive board. Beyond coaching, Bailey works in marketing as a content strategist. She's currently living in St. Paul with her husband and their cats. So,
Yes.
yes, well, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. So, let's just dive right into this. What do you feel has been one of your keys to success to have, um, 5 state championships, in the last 4 seasons you've had?
Yep.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure too, right?
100%. Yes. And I think for us, for our program, so obviously I stepped into a program that already had a strong culture, already had a strong history, but we were kind of knocking on the door of greatness for a long time. I think it's over 15 years where we had some second place finishes here and there and had never quite gotten that state title. And then we got our first one in 2020, and we have been able to secure a state title in A style since then, which is just crazy because when you're knocking on it for so long and like we've always been a strong culture and a strong program, but I think there is a lot of pressure that comes with it. And we just try to always remind our kids that no matter what, we just want them to do their best. And like the feeling that we want them to feel is when they step off the floor and they hug their teammates and they feel like they couldn't have done anything more. Like they gave it
Right.
everything they got. And that's something that we really try to build into our culture because inevitably there's going to be a season where we do not come out with a state championship.
Oh,
We know that.
absolutely. Right.
Yeah, we've been able to do it the last few years, but everybody's leveling up, which is great. Wisconsin is growing a ton right now in just kind of like where the spread is. It used to be much larger spreads. It was very clear, kind of you knew who the top three were going to be for a while.
Hmm.
And now it's really kind of anyone's game, which is
That's
exciting.
exciting. Very
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
Yes. But also means that, there's a higher chance that it'll be more difficult for us to secure a title the next coming years, which is a good thing. We want to always be getting better. But that's also why it's important to our culture to always remind our kids like, we do what we do because we love it. We just want to make people feel something. We just want to put something out there that we're really proud of. And then whatever the result is, it doesn't matter because we did everything we could. So we really are kind of building that in our culture.
And that's hard. I mean, I'm kind of sitting in the same position you are, and it's hard to go for it, but then not, like mop up the tears when they don't hit where they were trying to go for. And you're so all in that it really
Absolutely.
it gets tough. So yeah. Well, you said that you had many years where you were knocking on the door of greatness, and I like how you said that. What do you think edged you up? And I would say we are quite a bit the same, where all of a sudden something clicked. What clicked for you?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I wasn't coaching. I wasn't coaching in 2020, so I can only talk about our experience after that. Um,
Okay.
I think just like the hunger for our kids to not be second, we love second place too. But when that's the highest you've gotten, you kind of would like to get that first place. I think my kids were just like really, really hungry for it and for the
Okay.
program to get that first title. And they kind of just realized more that it takes more than just, oh, the Raiders are good and the Raiders have always been good. It takes like a next level of intensity in how we practice. And we've each year changed things to make things, preparing them better, trying to get their heart rates up more, like just coming up with different ways to kind of give them some pressure and some stress at practice. And also, I think like talking way back when I was on the team, I graduated in 2015. I I don't remember us ever doing more than one full out at a
Okay.
practice, you know. And now we try to do at least three minimum. And then a
That's
lot of
good for
times
teams to
after
hear. Yeah, that's good for teams. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's good for teams to hear because I feel like, kids, you get the eye rolls, from some team when you say you're going to do it again, and it
yeah,
goes into their attitude. But if you're going to get to a level that you've never gotten, you have to step up your training and do it better. And I know our goal this year was for you to get so, athletically
mhm,
competent at your routine that when you're done, it's not like
yes,
you're tired. You could probably do it again. And that's
yeah,
the goal. And I know I keep telling my kids all the time, you're training about to the level of an Olympic athlete. And
yeah,
I really feel they are. And you're not going to get there without and I love that you said you went kind of back to the drawing board and had to beef it up another level. So running it more times, that's one of the things you've
yep.
done. What else?
We've also involved them more in talking about the practice plans. That's something that I really started doing my first year coaching is I don't always remember to do it. They want me to do it more than I do. But sometimes, you come in and you're just ready to go and you're like, let's go. But whenever I can, especially like a big important week, I try to go through the list of the things that we want to accomplish that day, just so that they understand the expectations, they understand what we're going to be doing. And I think telling them we're going to be doing at least three full outs every single practice, then they come in, there's less eye rolling. They know that's what we're going to do. And if we do more than that, it's because our coaches want to make us better. So I think involving them more in the process and behind the scenes, the why has also helped. And I think they want to be great. They want to be as good or better than the team that came before them. And so also reminding them, we don't compare them to each other, obviously, but reminding them like that team in 2023 that got a double state championship, those kids were hungry. They wanted it so bad. They worked so hard for it. We didn't have to motivate them. They motivated themselves. And so we don't compare them to each other, but it's more just being like, that wasn't something that was just given to them, that team. They really, really like tirelessly motivated themselves and worked hard for it.
Well, I think when you're talking about involving them in the practice plans and letting them know what's happening, then they feel they're driving the train a little bit, don't you
Mhm.
think? And then it's easier than rather than you pulling them and it be kind of like a tug of war, they're helping drive it. And I feel that's a great message for all young coaches or just a reminder to us veteran coaches is that if you can get the buy-in from the kids, and kids, if you're listening to this, if you can help your coaches push, that's half the battle. I'll
Yeah.
think of things like norms on our team, like our seniors need to be the one to be in the room first. And then the
Yeah.
younger kids go, oh, boy, we're late. We have to rush in there
Mhm.
and we have to wear the correct clothes to ballet because we're setting an example. So if your team is, driven by those upper level kids, I feel like it really helps. And it sounds like you guys do that
100%.
same thing.
Yes, we talk to our upperclassmen a lot about the importance of being the first followers and how if you want this team to be successful, you have to kind of put your ego aside and recognize that like the team is what's most important and your behavior at practice, if you're upset about your spot and the routine, that can have a ripple effect and negatively impact the culture. And the younger ones are looking to you. And that's something too that I think helps our culture in general is that being a senior on our team, being an upperclassman on our team means something. Another Hudson coach asked me recently, he doesn't coach dance, it's a different sport. He asked me recently if we have trouble with dancers not wanting to try out the following year, especially if we had a large or successful senior class going out. And I was kind of like, no, we don't really struggle. I mean, sure, there's one off situations, but for the most
Yeah.
part, we don't really struggle with that. And it got me thinking about how much we do give to our seniors and upperclassmen, like getting them to buy in more, giving them more decision making responsibilities. Obviously, there's some things that we keep to the coaches,
Hmm.
but we try to involve them more and we give them like photo shoots and stuff for seniors. And we prioritize their spots for football and like fall stuff for seniors. And I think that that also helps with the buy-in and helps with
Mhm.
the culture. And then the younger kids are waiting for their opportunity.
Become a youth program director and work with Just for Kicks. Our directors have all the benefits of running a dance program in their hometown without all the hassles of owning a business. Join Team Just for Kicks and be a part of 200 professionals teaching annually for JFK. For more information, go to Team Just for Kicks or email me directly, Cindy, CINDY, at justforkicks.com. Okay, discipline. Do you have struggles with discipline, or is it your culture that drives everything?
I think meaning discipline, like personal discipline of
Well,
wanting to
like,
work hard,
okay,
or
say somebody's not showing up, or they're not trying, or they're, being a problem, or they
yeah.
don't go to something you scheduled.
Yeah, I think we don't have a ton of it because our culture is built in just like the standard is the standard. I've heard you say that before too. Like
Uh-huh.
we have clear expectations. We actually just had our first like intro meeting for people who want to try out for our program. And in that meeting, we kind of intentionally make it sound we don't really talk about the fun parts. We're mostly just kind of like, these are the expectations. They're not for everyone. That's fine. If you can't commit to this and make this your number one priority, after school, then it's
Mhm.
maybe not the team for you. So we try to always be really clear with our expectations. Still, they're teenagers, and
Mhm.
there are instances where I've been disappointed by some upperclassmen or some seniors or even some captains who miss events that they were supposed to be at because of scheduling. And I think the best way that I've had that dealt with is I just speak with them honestly and I say, this is the expectation, this is the position that you're in on this team. And when you do things like X, I can't get the other team members to follow you and like motivate. So I think reminding them that it makes a difference. Like, I'm not upset at you for missing the meat raffle because you missed the meat raffle. And I'm not upset with you. I'm just disappointed because how am I supposed to require everybody else to be there if I can't count on you? And then when I've had conversations like that, that's where I've found they understand. And typically they'll say, that makes complete sense. I apologize. I wasn't thinking, I didn't plan ahead. And so I think just being open and honest with them about why it disappoints you rather than just going to kind of like a, how could you? Like you're a
Oh,
captain.
yeah. I think so much is how you treat them, treat them respectfully. They're going to respect you back. But also making them just realize, I remember once to my seniors, I'm like, is this what you want? It was in the summer and it was like we were having a very lackadaisical summer. They weren't coming on time. And I'm like, this isn't how we operate. Is this what you want your senior year to be? And it kind of made them think, so I do feel discussions need to happen often. Don't you agree? I mean,
Yes,
you can't let stuff just keep going or it's going to blow up. It's better to take a little air off quite often. So, oh,
100%.
okay. So how do you balance your various coaches? How many days a week do you practice? And are the coaches there every day or?
Yeah. So I'm there every day. We practice 4 days a week for 2 hours typically, but because of our school district's rules with Wednesday nights, because of community churches, we have to end on Wednesdays by 6 p.m. So sometimes if we can't get the gym by 4, those are only an hour and a half.
Okay.
But we kind of ramp up our season as it goes. So we start in May, just 1 day a week, just like technique across the floor stuff. And then in the summer, 2 days a week and that goes through September. We add the third day in October. November is when we are practicing all 4 days of the week, and then that goes through February. So that's kind of our structure, and I'm there each day. I don't have to be. My co-coaches are very supportive and have always said if there's a day of the week that you want to take off, you have that flexibility. And every
Mhm.
once in a while, I do miss a random practice here or there. But I think something that our program was somewhat missing for a few years is just like more consistency.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that we have coaches who come in 1 day a week or 2 days a week. But I also think it's nice to have that through line of
Yes.
I was here when this coach said that, and now I'm here when we're working on this,
Hmm.
versus like the kids just being the through line, I think is confusing and stressful for them. So I don't have to be there each day. I am there each day. I want to be. I think it's good for them. And I'll say Kim Hoff, she basically started our competitive program. She's been doing this in some capacity for 27 years. She, when I first started, was kind of just like somewhat shadowing, like coming in every so often. And then she started to come in 1 day a week. And then this past season, she really ramped back up and has been coming 2 or 3 days a week. And then Kristen is officially on the books, my assistant coach, which is funny because I knew her as the JV coach when I was in high school. So she's been
Oh,
coaching since she wasn't
that's
my
so neat.
coach, but she was coaching, she coached my sister actually. So she kind of has the title of my assistant, but she's really, really well organized and she's really great with admin stuff. And so she takes on a lot of that. We kind of split that pretty 50-50, I would say. But she comes typically 2 or 3 days a week as well, probably three more often, but we're flexible with it because I'm there every day, because now Kim is there pretty often. We have some flexibility if you have something going on. And then the past few seasons, we had two other coaches, Monica and Ashley, who both have young kids and both were coming in just 1 day a week and helping out in that way. And Monica actually also does most of our choreography for our team. She still will be doing her choreography, but they both have decided to kind of step back from coaching and just be in the audience this coming season, just so they can focus on their kids are getting a little older
Hmm.
and starting their own activities. So next season, we brought in a fourth who is someone who now I coached. She graduated in 2022, and she still goes to the University of St. Thomas and dances on the competitive club team there as well, and is also on their executive board. So her name's Sophie. So she'll be our new addition. So
That's
she's going to come
awesome.
in and kind of shadow and do 1 day a week and kind of learn the ropes while she's still in college and still dancing,
That's
and
neat.
yeah, build her up.
So you have a lot of support, and that's important. And I do believe the consistency is important with having somebody
Mhm.
there. I agree. And if you can't, coaches who can't do that, I think a really important piece is talking, before practice so that there
Yeah.
is that like consistency going. So tell me, I'm going to totally switch gears. Tell me a little about costuming. How do you guys handle costuming? How early do you start on that? Do you match it to your theme? Do you
Yeah.
fundraise? How do you pay for it?
Yeah, so a few different things, a few different pieces, because obviously in Wisconsin, we can compete in four styles, and our
Wow.
team does. We like to because we think that it helps prepare our kids. It gives them a lot of mental toughness to be able to compete four styles. And also, I'm a big believer in like cross learning, helping you become better at the other styles. Like I
Oh,
think
right.
doing hip hop can help with kick. I mean, you guys did a hip hop specific kick. So obviously, there's that, but less direct ways as well. So we have four styles. Typically, in recent years, we've always taken kick and jazz as two to regionals with the hopes of advancing to state. And then this past season, Wisconsin actually allowed you to take three styles to regionals with the hopes of advancing to state. And we advanced in kick, jazz, and pom.
Wow.
So for jazz and kick, we've always kind of had a bigger budget and cared more about those, put more eggs in those baskets. And we do our custom costumes through the lineup. And the way that we do it is we try to get the early bird specials, the early bird discounts, which
Have
is
you
really
already
hard.
done that? Have you already done that?
Jazz
Wow.
prototype is done as of today.
Oh my, I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we just approved and paid for the kick prototype yesterday. So basically, we go there in February before our stuff's even wrapped up. And we have to kind of have an idea of what we want to do. And we discuss, usually, we bring images. Sometimes we bring a drawing if someone mocks it up. And we kind of just tell them these are our hopes and goals. And we base that solely off of the music. So, music first for us,
Hmm.
then kick and jazz costumes, and then we design those, and those are paid for by each kid because
Mm.
that's their personal costume that they keep. So those ones we have kind of funneled through payments, and we spread the
Okay.
payments out across like 6 months so that it doesn't ever feel like a large burden.
What do you typically, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you typically pay for a costume? Are you guys sky's the limit or?
We always try to keep it within about the same range, but we also recognize that costuming does play a part in your score
Mhm.
sheet, whether
Mhm.
it's directly on there or not. It's a big part of our sport, and we want to stay competitive, and so we we have a larger budget with it. I would say our jazz prototype, the prototype's always the most expensive because it's a one and done. And then the other ones we get the discounts on. So our jazz prototype is probably $450.
Okay.
And then the other ones will be slightly cheaper because we'll hit all of our early bird discounts. And when they're making them more mass production, they're cheaper. So I
Okay.
think typically like 350 to 400 is what
Hmm.
they end up paying. And we spread it out in increments of like $100 here, $100 there. And we show them in the beginning like what everything is going to cost and break it down.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I've been every which way with costumes. So I've done satin stitches, I've done the lineup,
Oh
and I've
yeah.
done last year, you will laugh, we did Sheen.
Oh really?
Yeah. Our jackets were our hip hoppy 50s jackets were
Oh, they
like,
looked so high quality.
oh,
Wow.
they weren't. They weren't. But we rhinestoned the heck out of them. And I think that, if you're going to do
Yeah.
something like that, we were designing it and then all of a sudden we saw it in the catalog and we were like, oh, let's go with there. But when we wore them at first, the arms were so like loose that
Oh
you couldn't see our arm movements. And I feel that's so important.
yeah.
With costumes, I think so we sewed them all in. We had turned them inside out and sewed those. And I actually had
That's
kids doing that. It's crazy. We brought
wow.
a couple sewing machines right to practice and kids were doing that. It was all hands on deck. But so you do what you got to do. But I
Yeah.
think it's smart to hear that you start that early. That's amazing. So
That's how we save
amazing.
money.
Yeah.
We do utilize like Sheen and Fashion Nova for hip hop. That's
Okay.
usually just like a bodysuit and a
Yeah.
hot pant. And then Palm, our school gives us money for Palm costumes because every
Okay.
sport gets a uniform
Oh,
rotation.
right. Hmm.
So that's our uniform rotation. And so we just got brand new Palm costumes this past year, but we usually compete in the same Palm costume for 3 seasons. And
Okay.
then we'll use them for football stuff or pass them down to our JV or our middle
Oh,
school,
right. That's
whatever.
so smart.
So those belong to us and they don't pay anything for that. And our hip hop costumes usually cost less than like $40.
Okay. Well, that's amazing. So what's considered early bird to get discounts at a lot of these costume companies?
So for the lineup, we do it this early because we have to.
But
You
when does the date that it changes?
March 17th was the date that we had to have our prototype approved
Oh, okay. All
for
right. Well,
our
that's
thing go into
interesting.
prototyping.
I know a lot of people with our Just for Kicks catalog, there are a lot of inexpensive costumes and teams will buy them, for their JV or for their varsity, and then they'll really bling them out.
We
But
did
that
that actually.
you
Our JV
did.
wore a Just for Kicks costume that we bought for varsity hip hop 3 years ago, and they wore it with pants. It's like
Mhm.
the black one that's mesh with the top,
Oh,
mesh
yeah.
sleeves, and the shorts. And our JV team just blinged the heck out of them last year for their
Mhm.
jazz Shine Bright Like a Diamond, and they looked beautiful.
Well, it's amazing what you can do when you're creative and when you're on a budget, you got to do it. So
Yeah.
that's the truth. So what about you mentioned practice planning a little bit that you tell the kids what you're going to do, but are you one of these people that has it exactly counted out by the minute, or are you um a little more random, or what would you say your style is with your team?
I think it kind of depends on the week, to be
Hmm.
honest. There are some weeks where it's like, okay, these things are like dire. We need to fix this section before here. So if we want to work on our turn set, we have to stop working on our turn set by X time. And
Okay.
I'm always really adamant about getting the full outs in. Sometimes to my co-coach's annoyance, I'll be like, we have to stop working on this because we have to get a full out in really quick and then we can jump back in, but we have to build the endurance. So with
Okay.
that stuff, I'm pretty regimented, but
That's good.
also though, I on a different day I might say, okay, I know we wanted to get to that section and kick today, but this part in jazz is just not where it needs to be and we need to work on this the rest of practice. So there's flexibility, but I also try to be really regimented in certain aspects where I think it's absolutely necessary.
And I think sometimes head coaches get uh, I don't know if you want to call it the grief or carry the weight of
Yeah.
being the bad guy,
Yeah.
because some days I'll say to our, because you want to get cleaning everything, and
I do.
sometimes
I want to do it
yeah,
all.
and sometimes, my assistant coaches, I may have a plan and they might hijack me. And I love them dearly. I'm not, but and I'll be like, okay, guys, we have to reel it in. We don't have that much time. We're losing,
Mhm.
So I do think you need to keep a structure as to what you're doing and
Yeah.
and make sure that you're not wasting time. And is that what our biggest fish is today? So do you do something specific besides the run throughs for conditioning? Like, are you weightlifting? Do you do ballet? Do you do
Oh yeah.
technique? Okay.
So I wish we did ballet. I wish we had time to do that, but we
Well,
have so
this
many.
summer for camp, we're going to try to make a stretching warm up
Oh,
with
love it.
love it. And we've made some ballet ones if you ever want to use them. They're very, and we
Absolutely.
might make even a little bit more like where it's like, just turn it on. Here's our ballet for the day. It
Yeah,
is important. It's
absolutely.
getting
It is
more and more.
important.
Yeah,
And
it's
there's
so
just never
important.
enough time. So if you have
Right.
a way to do it efficiently, so what we do right now is at our school, we're considered a sport, and not everyone in Wisconsin is, but we are.
Yay, I'm happy.
Yeah. So that means that we get access to we have a program called Raider Elite, which is just lifting that's made a specific program for your sport. They have an instructor who goes through it. I'm sure there are lots of schools in Minnesota that have very similar stuff. But essentially they lift 2 days a week with that, and they have the autonomy to say, like, we'll talk a lot about like what muscle groups they need to strengthen if they want
Hmm.
success in certain jumps and certain turns and better kicks. And they can go to their Raider Elite instructor and say, these are the muscle groups we need to work on. And then the Raider Elite instructor will come up with ways to build that into the program. It's hard. That one's hard to get kids to always go to because
Hmm.
coaches aren't there.
Yeah.
And that's difficult. But I think we had better turnout this past season than we have in years past because we talk more about why strength is important than ever
I
before.
I totally agree because, we started weightlifting probably 3 years ago, maybe, and strength training, I should
Mm-hmm.
call it, not weightlifting, but with the structured program with our school, similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that year at camp, we had several camp staff say, wow, you guys look just stronger.
Yeah.
And so them knowing that, I mean, praising them for their efforts and go, that's why we're getting better is
Yes.
because we've been strength training and
Yes.
people are noticing it. We're also lucky that now our school has one during the school day that they can take as a
Oh,
gym class. And
that's amazing.
that just happened this year, but we still have some kids going if it didn't work out in their schedule or if they're in PSEO, they're maybe doing a morning one. And then on Monday nights, some of the kids do an evening one right before our
Mm-hmm.
practice. So they're getting it in. And I think most of our kids commit,
Yeah.
that's why they're getting better. So I think that's very important. Well, we sound like we're a lot alike with what we're doing
Yeah.
and pushing
Yeah,
it. So
definitely.
well, I thank you so much for being on today. I know I learned some things and any last bit of advice you'd give new coaches?
Kind of we talked about with the standard is the standard. If you're coming in, you have to set your expectations and not waver on them, dependent on who's on your team. That is the key to building up a strong culture and a successful culture. And then I also think letting your kids know that you care about them and appreciate them and they're not just a number to you. I think that is something that I'm really passionate about as a coach is just ensuring that they feel valued. And I hope that my kids don't always agree with decisions that I make or things that I do, but I
Oh,
hope that
right.
if you asked any one of them, does Bailey genuinely care about me as a dancer and a person? They would say yes. And I think that that really improves a lot of the buy-in. It's just like we're passionate and we care, and it's okay to let them know that you care about them.
Yeah, it's great. It's more than okay. It's great because that's how you're going to get them to respond. So, well, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you at camp this summer.
Yes, thank you.
Take
Talk to you
care.
later. Bye.
Bye-bye.